Jessica, the memorial event's still very much ongoing there.
Absolutely, and I'm sure you and the viewers can imagine it's been a really moving and quite emotional day here as people have gathered in West London to pay tribute and to remember those who lost their lives in that absolutely tragic fire. We're currently standing in the shadow of what's left of Grenfell Tower, and behind me is a commemorative wall where people have been coming all day to lay flowers, to write messages, to look at the beautiful mosaic that's been put up here, and just to have a moment of quiet reflection. But as you mentioned, these events have been going on across London today. They actually started this morning over in Westminster, at Westminster Abbey. The Bishop of Kensington led the service there, and he talked about the pain that many in this community are still suffering 5 years on since the disaster. He also said that there's still a sense of injustice, grief and sadness in the community. And those sentiments were very much echoed here at a multi-faith commemoration at about 4 o'clock this afternoon, which was attended by the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. They lay a wreath at the ceremony, as did the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, and it was full of music and a real sense of people coming together to commemorate and mark this moment. Earlier today, I was speaking to some of those who survived that tragic fire, and they told me what they're feeling today, 5 years on from that moment. Survivors, bereaved families and communities have gathered to remember those who lost their lives. The devastating tower block fire in West London killed 72 people, and the impact is still visible and raw. Antonio lived on the 10th floor of Grenfell Tower. He was one of the last people to escape.
The wounds are very open in our community. Don't forget that many people have died, and also amongst them 18 children were denied their future and their life, and that makes you think, what did they do wrong? Why children amongst everybody else? So it's really very, very sad. But that's what we cannot forget.
Another survivor is Tiago, who managed to leave his home on the 13th floor with his mother, father and younger sister. He's been following the inquiry closely and says there's still a great feeling of injustice.
It's obviously difficult for us to hear this for, multiple times, that there are so many different people responsible, so many different failings at so many different levels. It's constantly a reminder of what could have been done before the fire. And, as bereaved survivors, we know that this was avoidable.
In February, the dangerous cladding which was used on Grenfell Tower was banned from use on new developments. But more than 1 million people across Britain are still stuck in similar high-rise buildings, blighted by the major safety flaws that were exposed in the aftermath of the blaze. Ritu bought a flat in Bromley in South London in 2015. 2 years later, she was told the building was covered in the same dangerous cladding. Now she and the other 56 residents have been forced to spend over £650,000 on fire wardens. She says it's a national scandal.
There are millions of people still living in buildings with dangerous cladding, dangerous fire safety issues. The government needs to now stop the rhetoric, put forward the funding immediately to make these buildings safe, and then go after whoever they think is responsible for this and collect the money from them. But their first priority now should be to make these buildings safe quickly.
The ongoing public inquiry has uncovered a chain of events which led to this disaster. Meanwhile, the police are still investigating whether anyone should be prosecuted. The Government Department for Housing says it is taking steps to ensure buildings are safer and that this tragedy must never happen again. But here the campaign continues to ensure Grenfell is a turning point in fire safety and that their loved ones' deaths were not in vain.
Jessica, let's talk about that Grenfell inquiry now. It's into its 77th week. That's over a year already and counting. Is there any hope of a conclusion for the families anytime soon?
Well, that is why they continue campaigning. That is why they're here today. From the first phase of the inquiry, this multi-million-pound public inquiry, we already know that there were a string of failures ranging obviously from the highly flammable cladding, but right through to the way that the chaos was dealt with on that night and the way the emergency services dealt with this and how long it took to evacuate residents. Now we are waiting for phase 2 of that public inquiry, which we can expect later on this year, which will have a more in-depth and wider look at everything from the moment that this building was first built, how it was managed, the housing companies and local and national government, how they responded to this. So we are hoping that we get this report soon, but people here campaigning today say it has been a painfully slow process and they are still waiting for justice.
Jessica King at the Grenfell Tower site, thank you.